There are guys that go under the radar every draft season that end up being league-winning waiver wire pickups. Instead of fighting for them on the waiver wire, we tell you which wide receivers to grab late in your drafts on today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm one of your co-hosts, Michelle Magdziuk, and when I'm not doing this, I'm a researcher and fantasy analyst with NFL Network.
And I'm your other co-host, Vinnie Iyer. When I'm not doing this, I'm writing about NFL fantasy and betting for sportingnews.com.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. Today, we are going to go through some wide receivers that are not even being drafted in most leagues, but we think have a really good shot of being very fantasy relevant this year. We think these wide receivers have a good shot of being big-time waiver wire priority guys that people will want to be grabbing early on in the season. And we're saying, forget that. You don't have to fight with them on waiver wires. Just draft them with one of your last picks instead. So we're going to give you some options here. Vinny and I will both give you three of our favorite deep sleeper wide receivers, and you choose who you like the best there and take a shot on one or two of these guys late in your draft. So Vinny, who is your top guy that you're eyeing that's not going drafted right now?
Yeah, we're watching the situation with Jacoby Myers and if he might return to this team in New England, but we're looking at Stephon Diggs and Hunter Henry are the main targets, as well as Pop/Demario Douglas are your top targets for Drake May. And there's been a lot of buzz about Drake May. I mean, he's been right there as a borderline QB1 in a lot of draft and rankings and ADP. So we have to go to his rookie target, Kyle Williams. Now, Williams has looked good. He's on the smallish side, but they don't expect him necessarily to play the slot because Douglas kind of does that. He's kind of the short area receiver for them. Stephon Diggs, again, coming off major ACL injury, as well as age, right? Those are factors that are coming in. Hunter Henry, good rapport, as well as Douglas with May, but those guys are shorter targets, right? We have to see what happens with Stephon Diggs. And again, I'm not sure how that's going to work in the pecking order, right? I mean, I think you'll see Diggs presumably target a lot, but Kyle Williams is very talented. I mean, they could have drafted a receiver earlier, but this team, again, hasn't had a great history of drafting wide receivers early, so maybe they didn't want to do it. So I don't know. Maybe they just said, okay, we're better at drafting wide receivers late or looking at them and converting them like Julian Edelman, and that's what we need to do. We need to target somebody kind of in that mold for Josh McDaniels and kind of go old school. And Kyle Williams gives them a little bit of that. I think he's a good route runner. I think you can play him outside or inside. He has some big playability. You get him in the open field after the catch. I really liked him in the draft. I think he was a nice sleeper for them to pick up. So, again, the opportunity is going to knock in New England. Again, we have no guarantee that Diggs is going to hold up, right? He's older, the knees, who knows? And it just could be a disaster again for him. I mean, it's been a couple of fading years for him. So if we see that happen again, I mean, it's hard to recover from that this late in your career, then the targets are going to open up there. Douglas is just a guy. Look, he's a type of receiver that can average less than 10 yards per reception. He's just like an extended handoff type receiver. And Hunter Henry, look, he's going to have a key role, but blocking is going to be important to support that young offensive line as well as red zone work. So, but they need somebody to work the other parts of the field. That's why I'm going to Kyle Williams. I mean, his ADP somewhere between 184 and 200 right now in your leagues. So good choice there for fantasy Mr. Irrelevant in your leagues.
Yeah, I love Kyle Williams. He was definitely an option here, but I didn't want to steal all the good options, so I left you Kyle Williams.
I like yours too, so you were good.
Good. Now, I really like Kyle Williams. I liked him before he was even drafted. I was really interested to see where he went, and he lands in a good spot with a real opportunity here. And yeah, he went down with a concussion, and maybe you're worried about that with his smaller frame, that maybe this could be an issue in the NFL, but that could be with any player. But he dominated at Washington State and was averaging over 17 yards per carry, had 14 touchdowns last year. Like, he can play all over the field too. So I'm a really, really big fan of Kyle Williams. And like you said, his competition is not that difficult. Now, if they were to trade back for Jakobi Meyers, then things might get dicey here. But it would help out my favorite wide receiver sleeper if Jakobi Meyers were to get traded. And that's the Raiders rookie wide receiver. No, it's not Jack Besh. It is Dont'e Thornton Jr. So the guy they drafted after Jack Besh, they drafted Besh in the second round, Thornton Jr. in the fourth round. But Thornton Jr. has outplayed Besh this preseason and in training camp altogether. And it looks like he's going to win that starting outside job. So it's going to be Jackson Smith and Jigba, probably Trey Tucker and Dont'e Thornton Jr. I don't know why I just said Jackson Smith and Jigba. Jakobi Meyers, if he's still there, Trey Tucker and Dont'e Thornton Jr. And Thornton is like the perfect player to go with Geno Smith. So he's a massive dude. He's 6'5", 205 pounds, and he ran a 4.30. So extremely, extremely fast. And you saw this on the field in college. He averaged nearly 22 yards per reception throughout his college career. Now, never like a lot of receptions. It was very few receptions, but he played on, Tennessee that didn't have a ton of passing the last couple of years. And then last year, he did have a career year with 26 receptions. That's it. But 25.4 yards per reception. That's the most yards per reception by a player that played in the SEC in any season since at least 2000. And the four guys since 2018 that have had the highest, it was Dont'e Thornton Jr., then Emmanuel Hall, which no, he's not, didn't do anything in the NFL, but the next two are DK Metcalf and Jamar Chase. So two out of the four so far have been fantastic. We'll see what Thornton can do. But with the Jakobi Meyers trade request, I don't think it actually matters if he leaves or stay, because I still expect Thornton to just be that deep receiver. Like, I don't expect him to get targets. I expect him to have a lot of big games, like sporadically big games. Obviously, I would like him more in like a best ball league where you don't have to decide when to start him or not. But Geno Smith is absolutely like he has his flaws, but the one thing he could do very, very well is throw deep, right? He has the fourth most deep passing yards since 2022 and tied for the most deep passing touchdowns in the league since 2022. And when I say deep, it means 20 plus air yards down the field. And that's exactly where Thornton's going to be used. And we saw him target him 4 times this preseason on just 14 pass attempts, Geno Smith did. And yeah, it only ended up in a one reception for 17-yard touchdown, but clearly he likes taking deep shots with Thornton. And I think he could be a surprise this year with some big games. So I like him a lot.
Yeah, Geno Smith is a guy that's really connected. We've seen it with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett in Seattle, that he likes that ability. And I think this offense, with the concepts it has, it's going to be run heavy. We know that with what they want to do with Ashton Jeanty. They want to load it up here and let him run. But I think off that, they need to throw downfield, use the play action. And I think they need to incorporate that a lot in their offense, much like you saw with Pete Carroll, some of what they were doing with Russell Wilson in Seattle when Wilson was in his prime. And Chip Kelly also wants to get as much speed and quickness on the field to help his passing game. So it all lines up with Thornton. I think that's why he's separated a little bit from Jack Besh, who I think has been a disappointment for them because they expected him to have a potential bigger impact as a rookie. But right now, the pecking order of this passing game is Brock Bowers. It's a little cloudier with Amari Cooper, but Amari Cooper is also on his last legs here. I mean, it took forever for them to even want to add him. I mean, he's sitting out there in free agency. They could have added him any time. I think a couple of things they did, the Kenny Pickett trade and this, were just depth plays that they had to make late with Aiden O'Connell going down and now with Myers and that threat. So they had to make some adjustments there. But Thornton is definitely past Jack Besh. And we like Besh as a sleeper, but he didn't get that position that we were looking for. And again, the big playability is going to be there. You're not going to get a lot of volume from Thornton, but you've seen it. Look, Jameson Williams, from a young Jameson Williams, you've got those big plays, and you had a little bit of fantasy relevance on the back end. So it's got to start somewhere, and I think that's where we're going to start with Thornton. So Raiders is an intriguing passing game for sure when you get past Brock Bowers, even with Myers/Cooper there. So I'm excited to see. I mean, these rookies – there's a lot of rookies, and we still have actually several more to talk about between our sleepers. I think we have 3 more. So we will get to those deep sleepers, 4 more thrown at you at wide receiver to throw out in your late rounds right after this quick break. All right, Michelle told you at the top, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day. What? Oh, that's today. A brand new holiday for football fans, live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. This is for you. If you live for this, this is your time right now for only 24 hours. So you got till tonight. FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. So a lot of things you can go for. Maybe you think someone is going to steal the AFC West away from the Chiefs and Travis Kelce. Maybe you'll get distracted by being engaged with Taylor Swift and the Chargers or Broncos or Raiders will win. Maybe you'll like that. Maybe an MVP will emerge. Maybe you like Jaden Daniels, or you can target the AFC and NFC South looking for some sleeper division winner dark out horses. So a lot of things that you can look at there on Futures Day here only on FanDuel. Visit the FanDuel app right now and start planning your futures bets now and getting out on them, because Futures Day is only one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. All right, Michelle, we do need to continue the show, and a couple more deep sleepers in this segment. Two more rookies. We love the rookies. And again, throw some darts at these guys late. So, Michelle, who's your number two sleeper? And these are all guys that are going 180 ADP and much later. So that's 15th round and after in most 12-team leagues.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm really eyeing the rookies, these are the guys that are going to surprise us, right? The ones that we don't know yet how they're going to be a part of their offense, how much that they can actually bring their talent into the NFL and succeed. With these other guys that are veterans, it's more like, what they are. Especially like the guys that have been in the league a few years, it's like hopeful that maybe they can get better, but really you know who they are. So I like to lean on rookies here late in drafts. But my next guy is Elic Ayomanor from Stanford. He was a fourth rounder for the Titans. I did think he could go much earlier in the draft. I thought he'd be a second or third round pick at worst, but he fell to the fourth round. And I'm not really sure why. I mean, I know his production on like the box score doesn't look insane, but he was on a terrible Stanford offense. I mean, the leading passer last year for Stanford had 1,700 passing yards and 10 touchdowns, while Ayomanor had 831 receiving yards and 6 of those 10 touchdowns. In the 2023 season, Ayomanor put up over 1,000 receiving yards and caught 6 of the 11 passing touchdowns Stanford had all year long in 2023. So he was very productive in terms of what his offense did. Has the body size to be a great outside wide receiver and the speed and the athleticism. 6'1", 206 pounds, ran a 4.44, 38-inch vertical. So like he has everything there that you need, and he has amazing body control. He can come up with those huge, great highlight catches and really just beat out those defenders. And right now he's fighting for snaps with Van Jefferson. Now I know Van Jefferson had that long touchdown in the preseason, but we know exactly who Van Jefferson is, right? And I don't think he's going to get 80+% of the snaps. Like at worst, I think Ayomanor would be sharing snaps with Van Jefferson. But then also like Tyler Lockett, I know he's more of a slot guy, but they can play in different places. But Lockett, 33 years old, we'll see if he can stay healthy or be productive. But I just don't think it's that hard to see where he can fit in this offense and get these targets. And Calvin Ridley, should be the lead here, but there's a clear opening for the second most targeted guy in this offense. And I don't think it'd be that shocking if it was Ayomanor.
Yeah, and Cam Ward is still feeling his way around this Titans offense, and they said goodbye to one of his favorite Miami Hurricanes targets, Xavier Restrepo, so he's trying to get used to all the new targets he has now. Calvin Ridley, clearly the number one, and they're going to try to get him involved as such because they can line him up in different spots. Remember, with Atlanta, he was very valuable as a big slot. So Calvin Ridley is going to be treated as a number one. But they said goodbye to Traylon Burks. They blew up that experiment to who was supposed to be the replacement for A.J. Brown. That didn't quite work out. Now they're taking a shot on Tyler Lockett, who's near the end here. We know that. I mean, the Seahawks needed some receiving help, and they just moved on from him. So, again, Tyler Lockett, not much of a threat here. And then Van Jefferson, look, he's a serviceable well-coached receiver. And I say that specifically because his dad is on the Titans wide receiver coaching staff. So that probably helps Van Jefferson get a spot on the team. And I guess as long as Sean Jefferson's around coaching wide receivers, maybe we'll see Van Jefferson on like 20 teams at the end. But when we look at this, I think he does some little things well. He's an okay field stretcher. He had an opportunity with the Rams, but he's nothing to write home about or special here with Elic Ayomanor. Ayomanor can be very special. He's a fun name to say, but hard and tongue twister and all that. But when you look at his talent, there's no doubt about it. I thought he could go as high as the second round in drafts, and I didn't understand why he fell a little bit. I liked all the complete skill set that he has. So again, opportunity can knock at any point here. And just again, pay attention to every situation. You never know where something's going to rise, and that's a good lead into my guy. It's Jalen Noel, and we know that everyone's on Jaden Higgins quite a bit in Houston looking for some rookie wide receiver value. It makes sense, right? There's Nico Collins, and what else is there? I mean, Tank Dell is hurt right now. We got to figure that out. There's a bunch of other receivers just kind of mashed in there. It's not like Dalton Schultz is like a big-time tight end either, so there's an opportunity there. And what you look at here specifically in Jalen Noel is the Christian Kirk spot. I mean, that's their notable pickup from the season. Now, here's a problem for Noel is that Kirk is a slot guy, but here's a problem for Kirk. Kirk cannot stay healthy. He gets into a spot where he's going to break down. He's also getting a little older. I don't think people realize how old and how long he's been around, right, with Arizona and Jacksonville. Like, it's been a while. So I think Christian Kirk, again, is a great candidate to break down. I mean, this Texans team just seemingly cannot keep wide receivers healthy, right, in any form. I mean, Nico Collins even plays through some injuries, hamstring and all that. So Stephon Diggs, again, the ACL, they moved on from him. You have Tank Dell, who knows when he's going to return. And in fact, that's why they doubled up, right? They took Higgins and Noel. So I think Noel's just a plug-and-play slot. If he gets that opportunity, I think he's going to be better than Christian Kirk in that particular role. Like, he's highly productive in college. Again, there's some targets here. I mean, I think you have 94 vacated wide receiver targets in Houston, and that doesn't include some of the Dell stuff, right? Because he's technically still on the team. So there's definitely an opportunity here for that second receiver. Nico Collins is going to get a ton of attention. He's going to get double teamed. Middle of the field is where they need to operate a little bit more. So I think watch out for Jalen Noel. Like, again, he's a guy that you might be able to cut in a couple weeks if Christian Kirk proves us wrong and stays healthy, but don't waste a late pick on Christian Kirk. Take a shot on Jalen Noel instead. He's got so much more upside if he could play that same slot position.
Yeah, I think that's the key here is, unfortunately, you probably are going to need a Christian Kirk injury to get him on the field because Kirk's a veteran. They're going to trust him, especially if they have Higgins on the outside, another rookie. So it's going to be hard. But, I mean, Noel had more. I mean, they both played at the same school, right? Iowa State. And Noel was the one that led the team in receiving. Yeah. I mean, they're pretty much neck to neck. But it was Noel over Higgins in that offense. I'm with you. I think Jalen Noel, if he gets the opportunity, could be a huge steal just with what the Texans offense is going to have to do this year, especially with no run game right now, right? If Joe Mixon isn't there and they're just leaning on Nick Chubb and a bunch of randoms back there, they're going to have to throw a lot, which could be good for all of these wide receivers. We're going to get to two more wide receivers. I have one more rookie. You have a second-year guy out of Carolina. We will hit on that and close up today's show right after a quick break. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. The NFL season is right around the corner, and you can feel the buzz. Fantasy football season is here. Everyone's researching, drafting, and building their championship squads. If you haven't joined a league yet, now's the time, and it's all happening on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, like always, Vinnie and I are playing fantasy football on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran creating your millionth league. Yahoo Fantasy is loaded with fun ways to compete and brand new features that make the game even better. With season kickoff on September 4th, now is the time to start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football, which offers so many fun ways to compete. If you want more ways to play, you can try the new Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine League mode, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated weekly until one team is left standing. Or if you want to play instantly with friends, you just try the new draft with friends mode. If you prefer the classics, get your crew together and go head to head in a private league. And if you have no crew, no problem, join a public league, the easiest way to play. The NFL season kicks off September 4th, so don't wait. Start your league now. Draft now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. All right, we have two more deep sleeper wide receivers that we think you should consider taking with one of your last picks in the draft. Vinny, who's your last guy here?
Yeah, I mean, there's some with this in flux here in Carolina where Adam Thielen all of a sudden looks like he's getting homesick from Minnesota. He's from there. He played there. Maybe he wants to sign a one-day contract and retire there. I don't know. Or he's looking at the opportunity there with Jordan Addison out to maybe be a contributor. But Adam Thielen definitely looks like he may be out of Carolina here. Now, everyone might think, okay, this is great. Like Tedero McMillan is the clear number one, which that wasn't a fact that changes here. But then I hear a lot of Xavier Legette truthers, and I don't get it. Like, he hasn't done all that much. And Jalen Coker, look, he was surprisingly effective when targeted by Bryce Young. And Bryce Young, I think, has a bit of a trust and chemistry with Coker. I mean, he was a bit of surprise last year. They kind of did some wide receiver by committee stuff, trying to figure things out right into the Dave Canales offense. And Coker kind of took advantage of that opportunity. And when he was there, and he got the targets, I mean, he was right there getting wide receiver 3 production in the top 36. So, granted, a few of those times are touchdowns, but that's what we're looking for. He's actually a nice body there in the red zone as well. He can finish. He gets targeted there. I think him and McMillan could get a lot of red zone targets interchangeably here from Bryce Young in this offense. So, again, this would be a big opportunity. If they move on from Thielen, this is a great opportunity for Coker because, again, Thielen is also a guy that can get red zone targets and go up and get the ball. And Coker would step into that role right after McMillan. So I think it's really critical. I mean, Legette, if you like him, that's fine. But I'm not interested at all in him. Coker has shown me more. I mean, I live here. I've seen it a little bit more with Coker than I've been inspired by Legette ever. If Legette was awesome, they wouldn't have gone out and used a first-round pick on Tedero McMillan when you have one of the historically bad defenses in the NFL. Like, they realized they needed an alpha. And Coker, I don't think he was the problem. I think he was a depth guy that they were still going to get involved here. Technically, he's not listed as a starter, but that could change really quickly with the Thielen situation. So I really like Coker. I think he's got a good skill set overall. Again, the vibe with Bryce Young can't be ignored here. And now he doesn't have to face any really good corners. They're going to all flock to Tedero McMillan. So, again, I'm excited to see what the Panthers passing game does this year. And Coker has to be a big part of it if we like Bryce Young individually.
Yeah, especially like you said, if Adam Thielen does get traded, which all the rumors are swirling right now that the Panthers are working on that, actually to send him back to Minnesota, which would be kind of crazy. But if Thielen's traded, that opens up a huge hole for Coker here. And like you said, he was having that connection with Bryce Young at the end of last year. He had a few really solid fantasy games, and I do think he's still going to be highly involved. We only got to see Bryce Young really in one preseason game. He had a couple pass attempts in the second one, but he's thrown one touchdown this preseason, Bryce Young has, and guess who it was to? Jalen Coker. So he's still targeting him. It's still his guy. So I actually love that call by you. Now, mine's another rookie. It's going to go Tory Horton from the Seahawks, and he would have been at the top of this list if it wasn't for an annoying ankle sprain that he's dealing with right now, which is never good for a rookie, and it's never good for a fifth-round rookie really, fighting for a starting job. But all the news is he's expected to be ready by week 1. He was outplaying Marquez Valdes-Scantling to win that starting outside job with the Seahawks prior to the injury. And it seems like he may still be even holding on to it throughout this injury. Like, if he's back, he could still be the starter with Jackson Smith-Njigba and with Cooper Kupp. That's how ourlads.com has it right now. And they're normally pretty spot on with their predictions of who's going to be the starter. But Horton has it. I know he's a 5th rounder, but it was really only because of his injuries that he dealt with in 2024 that just only allowed him to play 5 games. In the 2022 and 2023 seasons, he was absolutely fantastic. had over 1,100 receiving yards and put up 16 touchdowns during that span of time at Colorado State. During that span over those 2 seasons, he was averaging 95 receiving yards per game. That ranked 4th in the FBS during that span, behind only Rome Odunze, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Malik Neighbors, who all went top 10 in the NFL. He made up 38% of Colorado State's receiving yards during those 2 seasons. And he has the size and the speed. He's 6'2", 196 pounds, 4.41 speed. They seem to be only thrilled with everything that Tory Horton has done this offseason. And if you can win a starting job right off the bat as a 5th round player and beat out, MVS has been in the league a while. He's a veteran and he's beating them out. I think that says something. And outside of JSN, who else is Sam Darnold targeting? Like, I guess you can hope Cooper Kupp stays healthy for if you're a Seahawks fan, but he's had trouble doing that. They lost DK Metcalf. They lost Tyler Lockett. They lost Noah Fant. Targets need to go around. And I think Tory Horton has a really good shot of being highly productive, especially for considering how late he was drafted.
Yeah, it's a reboot for everything in Seattle. I mean, it's not just the wide receiver personnel, but it's also Clint Kubiak coming in, calling the plays. That changes everything. The pecking order is redeveloping here with Cooper Kupp in the mix. Yeah, MVS they took a shot on because he's that deep threat, but I think what they liked about Horton is he showed a little bit more of a complete receiver than what we saw with the deep threat there. So I think that's why he's there. And look, when he was in Colorado State and I looked at him in 2023, I thought he had potential to be a back-end first-round pick in the NFL. Didn't quite happen because the injuries, and he had to come back. And I think he made a good decision. And I think the Seahawks made a fine decision to take him late. And again, we were trying to find out earlier, is it going to be Elijah Arroyo to be that 3rd target potentially as a rookie and figure out the tight end room? And they're going to open it up now with Kubiak there. But now you change it, right? I mean, Tory Horton is the guy that looks a little bit more involved in the offense as they go more 11 personnel. So you have the 3 receivers versus focusing more on the tight end here for Sam Darnold. So again, Darnold, new quarterback, new scheme, new set of targets here. A lot of things change. And then Cooper Kupp, don't forget, he's an older guy that can get hurt again easily. I mean, he's near the end. And the other side of 30, he's had a lot of knee injury issues, other ailments as well. So Cooper Kupp could end up missing time as we see Horton get healthy, and that would really open up the door for Horton behind JSN in this passing game.
That is it for today's episode. We are going to do the same thing with running backs tomorrow. So we will give you our favorite deep sleeper running backs on tomorrow's episode. So don't miss that. Before I let you go, I have an important request for you all. Locked On wants to hear from you. We put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make our favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win 1 of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out. We appreciate it. We hope you all have a great night. Bye, y'all.